Hi everyone, it's Mr. T back again, this time to help you understand more about what it's like to raise children in Dominican Republic, as well as the pros and cons of schooling versus homeschooling over here. During this documentary, I'll be interviewing a headmaster of one of the most popular schools here on the North Coast, who also gives great insights on what it's like to raise a family over here. I'll also show you an interview I conducted with a sharp teacher, sharing his experiences on pros and cons of private or state-run schools versus the option of homeschooling here in DR. We'll also meet a professional couple with 2 young children, as well as a mother who raised and schooled 2 daughters while living in DR. And after seeing cool clips of what activities and hobbies family engage in down here, we'll hear the alarming story of a family relocating to the DR to disconnect from the already totalitarian school system of Canada to find a sane and sovereign place to educate and raise their children. Alright guys, now if you're worried about moving to Sosua because you've heard things about the prostitution here, yes, you're gonna be able to walk down the street and see girls with tight pants and playing on their cell phones, but that's about the worst thing you're gonna see, especially in the daytime. So, can you walk your kids through? Well, I believe so. It's an educational thing when they ask questions. But there's only a 300-meter strip where you're going to get what we call the red light zone here. So if you stay out of that 300-meter strip, well, then you're not going to have any problems. It's a big country, and you don't have any problems finding cool hangouts for your kids or nice places to go. So I just hope that eases your mind that it's actually very tranquilo, as you can tell as I'm walking down the street here. All right, we move on. First, I decided to go down and check out one of the most popular schools on the North Coast, which is called Isla Academy. I'm with Sean Bennett, the director of Isla Academy here in Sosua, Cabarete area, Dominican Republic. Thanks, Sean, for being on camera.
Thanks for having me again, Mr. T.
Yeah, you've been on my videos before, but this video was so relevant I just had to come and see you guys. So you run a very nice school here that you have grown together with your wife, Juliet.
Right.
And how long have you run the school for?
This is our 4th year. We've been in the country for 6 years with a public school project as well, but this is the 4th year of Isla Academy.
And what is the winning edge about your school down here?
I think ultimately the difference between Isla Academy and really any other school you might find, whether it's here or any other place, is the extreme focus we put on the individual child and on the care and love we have for each one. We really try to treat each of our children here like members of a family, and that's embedded in the way we do our academics, from giving students personal choice, from the way they present their projects, to the way we embed character traits into our curriculum, and just from the way that each teacher really puts a focus on knowing each child. We keep class sizes small on purpose so that there's nobody that can pass a day without feeling like somebody's putting their arm around them and saying hello and checking on them, and making sure they're getting the best education possible.
What's the age brackets that you have?
So we start accepting students as young as 2 years old, and we go all the way up until 12th grade.
I was just filming a few seconds ago swimming lessons in the pool, so you kind of cover a lot of things.
Yeah, that's also another thing I think that's unique about Isla. We really have tried to make sure that we're preparing our students for life in this community. So we try to provide a Caribbean education, and to be here on the North Coast, swim lessons and being able to survive out in the water and be able to enjoy water sports here is a big part of our sports curriculum.
Just the physical location of your place, being here near tropical beaches and other very beautiful nature spots, how does that make your school different than, say, what people may be used to overseas?
Well, I think that when we found our location, we used this location as a second teacher. We really try to make our campus something that inspires creativity and inspires students to want to learn. So we've built everything here locally. We use all local materials. We're steps away from the beach. Students get a lot of time outside. They really feel like they're here in the Caribbean instead of locking inside of the classroom all day.
And safety and security, what could you mention?
So we have 2 security guards at all times at our front gate. We're completely encircled with a gate and a fence. And then we're located in the very back of a very safe community that has security all over. So there's no traffic that passes through our school because of our location here.
And that's Playa Laguna.
Playa Laguna, right here. It's right in between Sosua and Cabarete.
Yep. Excellent. So you've also been not only a headmaster of a school with your wife, but also a family. So what's been the differences between raising children here for the last 6 years or compared to had you stayed in the US?
Well, I have 2 children, and I haven't just lived in the U.S. I've also lived in 5 other countries. And I would say that my family chose to live here because of some of the unique characteristics of Cabarete and Sosua. It really is a family environment. It's one of the few places that you feel like every place you go is welcoming to children. I can take my kids to a restaurant, and everyone's there to help out. My kids feel free to move about and be really like kids. There's tons of playgrounds, there's dance lessons, there's horseback riding and tennis. There's an abundance of parents getting together and doing groups. There's swimming lessons. I mean, really anything I could find back in my home community in the U.S. is here. But in addition to that real just idea that kids are here to be kids and free, and I think that's one of the most important things I appreciate about it here is that I can let my kids grow up in a place where they can kind of learn to be themselves.
Excellent. Sean,
Yes.
is there any disadvantages in living here, raising a family, or is there anything missing that you would have, say, back in the States?
Well, I mean, I grew up in a small town, and so Cabarete and Sosua, they're small towns. And so if you want to talk about a disadvantage, no, we don't have a big museum. We don't have big box stores here. You might have to, from time to time, take a trip to the big city to get those types of things. But I don't really see those types of things as big disadvantages. I think
People order things online as well.
Sure. I mean, things are very different now than you can always. Amazon shows up within a few days. There's lots of great international couriers that can get your things to you. I think if you're looking for an international environment where there's a diverse group of people, but then also have that small town feel, I've never been to a place around the world that has that combination here. I've lived in lots of places where there's lots of expats, but we generally live in a city of several million people, and so there is not quite a sense of community like there is here. That's one of the big things I love about here. To me, it feels a lot like what it was like when I grew up as a kid. And I grew up on the beach. I grew up in a small town. But when I take my kids back home to the States, there's no restaurants there where my feet are in the sand and I can just let my kids run and keep an eye on them and feel like everybody's okay with that. Here, there's tons of places like that, and the restaurants cater to families, and you'll see. I'll be able to take my children there without a plan of meeting any other families, and suddenly see 5 or 10 other families with kids running around. They're climbing trees. There maybe even sometimes in some of these restaurants there are small kiddie pools even, where your kids are going to have a great time, and as adults you feel relaxed and able to have a nice time without chasing your kid through a busy restaurant. It's really nice.
Yeah.
Another thing I wanted to mention is how available and affordable childcare is, and that can make a huge difference in your ability to feel like you can serve your child and serve your home and create a loving environment in the best way possible because you have support and you can afford it.
Now, Sean, in terms of the cost of living down here compared to, say, US, what's your experience? Do the parents find it easy to afford living here and affording school, affording everything they need to afford? Or how do they normally fund their lifestyles? They work overseas half the year and then they're back here? Or?
There's a mix. I think there's a great diversity of occupations. There's a lot of entrepreneurs here, a lot of people who are trying unique things. There's a large number of people who do spend half the year here and half the year in another place, or people who are able to find work online and able to work remotely here. I mean, truth be told, the cost of living is generally lower for most things. But I think a big part of that is once you get here, culturally, and I say culturally meaning cultures from all over the world, you start to recognize what things are necessary and what things are not necessary. And so I think that a lot of people who've lived here for a period of time start to live in a much more affordable manner because they recognize that their entertainment options or their family time can be afforded very cheaply by spending a day at the beach or hanging out with friends at one of these nice restaurants. And so I think that generally lends to a more affordable cost here.
Now, Sean, we should all work to live, not live to work. And for families, it's usually a priority to have some adventure in their life. So what do families around here do usually to get some adventure in their life?
Well, our location here is amazing. We are, first off, in the community itself. There's a huge number of beaches. The mountains are here. There's rivers. But if you expand that area, that geographic area, by about an hour's travel, there's enough places for you and your family to hit a different place every weekend for 6 months. And I think that's a real special thing, that you can take the kids, get in the car in the morning, go to some place you haven't been to in a long time, hang out all day, come back at night, and feel like you've just had a really affordable adventure and everybody's seen something new and special.
And when people start connecting with Dominicans, it's like your world is changing, because they know where to hang out. They know all these little magic spots. I mean, when I went motocrossing in one of the videos I ended up at a waterfall in the back of the mountains called Cascada de Ojos or something, the eyes, the waterfall of the eyes or something, if I translated it. And it was the most magic spot, and there's a big pool below the waterfall you could swim in. And, but you saw more donkeys out there than motorbikes. I mean, there's just so many magic places, isn't there?
I think that's in part to the fact that as a developing country, a lot of that tourism infrastructure is still developing. And so when you look at all these hidden spots, you're not necessarily going to see a huge sign off the road. And so your ability to feel like I'm going to go on an adventure, or I'm going to connect with my local friends, or I'm going to ask questions, or get in my car and drive for the day and stop at the first colmado and ask somebody, is there any cool swimming spot nearby? You're going to find places that are not listed in TripAdvisor or in Lonely Planet, and just will blow your mind. I haven't lived here for 6 years now. I'm still discovering places, and I love that about this country.
And how safe do you guys feel when you're roaming around, exploring?
I feel absolutely safe. I mean, I feel like I don't know. I've never feared for my safety in moving around. Driving, just like any other place, you just drive defensively. Don't get yourself in a hurry. You can be on Caribbean time. But other than that, once you get to any sort of location, you're going to be welcomed with open arms. If you find a place, if the locals recommend a place that's going to be cutting through someone's property, they'll recommend to take a guide, and that guide's going to be somebody who's from the neighborhood and who's going to work for a very cheap cost to take you and make sure that you're protected and know where to go. Because, like I said, a lot of these trails and paths aren't marked, and those are the best ones to find.
Great stuff.
Yeah.
So, Sean, what have we got here?
Special
pizza day.
Yes, it's pizza day today. We have a professional chef who comes in every day and cooks, largely vegetarian, but all fresh ingredients every day. Today we're having fresh salad, we're having cake that was in part cooked by some of our students, and veggie pizza for today.
Fantastic. So a special treat.
Special treat. I mean, you know, good food makes everybody happy.
That's right. Absolutely fantastic. Thank you, Sean.
You got it.
Cheers. Next up, we're going to meet a lovely couple who established a beautiful family and a very successful business in the area. At the moment, I'm with Julia and Ilya and little Sky, is it?
Yeah.
And you got one more? Mia, but she's out there having fun behind us. Thanks for being on the video clip here. Now, how many years ago since you moved here to Dominican Republic?
It was, it's already almost 7 years. It's going to be 7.
Time flies. And you run the International Tennis Center here in Sosua.
Yes.
Yeah? Now, what pluses or minuses have you found there is with bringing children up? I mean, they were both born here in the country, your girls, yeah?
It's definitely weather. It's it's a nice weather here. It's always sunny and it's warm, and ocean and international culture around us. It's really good for them.
Yeah. And any other advantages that you've seen in bringing children up here so far that you didn't have, say, in Russia, where you're from?
Advantages, but it depends what age. What age are we talking about now?
Okay, well, any age, let's just say.
Any age.
All right.
I would say it's perfect for the young kids. It's like excellent. But when it starts the school, I would say high school. I don't know how it's in the high school here, but I would prefer maybe not third world country.
Mm-hmm.
But we are still not on that age yet, so I don't know yet. But that's what I think.
Right.
But until the high school, I think this is perfect here.
Now, you chose to have your children
Yeah.
born over here in the Dominican Republic. How did you find the whole process and service?
Yeah, everything was good. We have some different clinics here, the hospitals. The good one in Puerto Plata and the now one in Santiago. I had my birth at Brgds, Central Brgds, in Puerto Plata. It was really good. I liked it.
They looked after you.
Yeah.
Excellent. So you find it easy, even when you have time off, it's easy to keep the girls entertained?
Yeah, we have some different classes here, for example, tennis classes or music classes, or what else we have? Dancing.
Are we not paying attention to you? Here we go. All right, sorry, we just had to keep her involved.
So we have a lot of options here to entertain the kids, so it's a pretty good place.
Yeah.
Kids here.
Now that you've tried living here for a while, you still have a desire to keep living here for many years?
I don't know actually. How do you think, Ilya?
We're still thinking. I mean, the kids are growing. So far, they're young. We're here.
Where would you put your children to school when they are ready for that?
So far, we have 3 schools. In my personal opinion, we have 3 schools to choose. It's Isla, Garden Kids, and ISS. And I
would be one of those.
Even think about the local schools with like no computers, no education. So so far I see just these 3 schools, I guess. Yeah, I don't know.
This seems to be a very growing community, the whole Sosua Cabarete area.
Definitely, yes. The community is growing very quick and a lot.
So when you need clothing or other gadgets that you normally can't find just around here, what do? Do you go to Puerto Plata? Do you order online or?
Online, everything online.
Yeah.
Everything online.
And
sometimes we buy at San Domingo, but it's mostly online from eBay or something else.
Any store online.
Any online store from the
and you have an account with one of the local courier companies here?
Yeah,
Right.
we use CDS or Encargo.
And then you just come to the counter, pay a fee when they receive it?
Yeah, per pound. Yeah, we pay per pound.
Yeah. So would you say it's cheaper to raise children here than in other countries?
It depends what to compare with. If you compare with our country, Russia, definitely not. Maybe it is if you compare with Norway or even Canada, the United States, it might be cheaper, but it depends.
Yeah. So when somebody gives birth to a child here in DR, does that entitle that child to a Dominican passport?
Yeah.
They're becoming citizens of America.
If you are legal residents here in Dominican Republic, your child
can automatically become a citizen. All right, I would like to say thank you very much for being on video here and all the very best for the future.
Thank you too.
Take care. All right, just before we carry on, we'll just have a quick look at a little racetrack that you'll find out in Sabaneta near Cabarete, where they race remote control cars. Next up, we'll be talking to a long-term expat Her and her husband raised 2 girls who have now left high school and headed off to France for university. I'm with Olivia from Olivias Clothing in Cabarete.
Yeah.
And Olivia, how many years have you lived in Dominican Republic?
I've been living here for 15 years now.
And you raised 2 girls here.
Yeah.
How old were they when you relocated over here?
They were 3 and 5 years old.
And where did you put them in school?
I put them in school in the Garden Kids International School, and they just finished. The last one finished last year, and they were graduated, high school diploma, and also they could have the Spanish course. So they also have the Bachillerato Dominicano, so Dominican Republic diploma. So they speak fluently French, Spanish, and English.
And write it.
Yeah, for sure, write it perfectly. Yeah.
And they've gone to Europe now. Is that to study or just to travel?
They are now both in Europe to study, university in Bordeaux, in my place from France. So they are in France and they are studying there, and so they are fluently in 3 languages, which is very nice for them.
Big advantage,
sure.
yeah.
Yeah.
Last question, what would you say Dominican Republic is like as a country to raise children?
I think it's wonderful. In the childhood, the kids, they have lots of activities, they are always outside, so they are not watching TV all the time and whatever, because they are doing lots of sports, and also international schools, they are really, really good level, so they can study as, I think that maybe better than in Europe or in United States, and they have wonderful experience sharing with people from everywhere in the world, which is wonderful for them, for the experience of a childhood. Yeah, for sure. It's a wonderful childhood when you have the...
Right, and your husband, he's a businessman, and yourself, you've run this clothing store?
Yeah, since 10 years now.
10 years. So come down, visit Olivia. Give them a location mark in Cabarete. Where are you?
Yeah,
opposite?
I'm just in front of Scotiabank, in the middle, in the center of Cabarete, Olivias Boutique. Yeah.
Okay, let me just pan the camera around. You can see she's got some very beautiful stuff here. So if you get a chance, come down and check it all out. There's bags, there's everything. Thank you very much, Olivia.
You're welcome.
Now let's have a look at some of the activities that families get up to down here in their free time. I'm with Hasakia, a teacher for many years and resident here in Dominican Republic. Thanks for being on video.
Thank you.
What's your take on schooling, having been a school teacher for many years, compared to homeschooling?
Well, it depends. It depends on the school. Different schools offer different opportunities. That's one of the things I'm thankful for, is having had the opportunity to travel all over the world and to work in and visit schools of different types. So it really depends. some schools have programs that are highly effective and motivating for students and really give them an opportunity to get ahead. And most schools, though, I would say, even though they might differ in color and size and in budget, the content is the same. And the main thing when it comes to education is the content. What are you teaching? What is the content? So even if the school has these fluffy pillows on the floor and bright colors, if they're teaching the same content as the regular state-run public schools, so there's not really much difference other than the colors of the wall and the cushion. So homeschooling, same thing. If you take your child out of the public school or a private school and you bring them at home, are you still teaching them the same content that they're teaching in school? So my focus is on the content. What are you teaching?
So let's say a family chooses to put their children in a school in the Sosua Cabarete area, as an example, here in Dominican Republic. What do you think the quality level is like here? Are they getting a decent education, or is it very much like they've just taken the whole curriculum from overseas and just doing it with a few palm trees around them?
Like I said, for me, the key issue is the content. And I don't see any radical change in terms of content being taught at the private schools in the Dominican Republic.
So if they could change something, improve something, what should they be doing that they're not doing?
Well, we know today, it's been proven that the majority of the stuff that I would say, where does the content come from? Most of the content for schools all over the world come from the USA or Europe. And we know that all this stuff is full of lies. It's just full of lies and deception. So it doesn't matter. Again, it doesn't matter. As long as the content is the same, it doesn't matter how it's presented. You're dedicating the children, the students, to deceptive information. What I would do is have to change the content of what's being taught. For example, everybody's still teaching that Thomas Edison created light bulbs and this sort of stuff. And we know that's not true. I mean, it's just on and on and on and on and on. Just all of this deception that has come out of Europe, come out of the USA, and it doesn't matter how you wrap it. It doesn't matter how you wrap it.
So what's the advantages in homeschooling, in your opinion?
Well, you don't have to deal with the politics. Now, we have to, one thing that I think is important to know, private schools are businesses. They're businesses first. So that means that your primary concern has to be with maintaining the business. So that means that now diplomacy enters the classroom. Gotta be diplomatic. You don't want to offend your customers, which are your parents and that sort of thing, the students. So as long as the school is a business, it has to operate on a business model. So that's an issue too. I don't know if modern schools, the major schools, they were never intended to make people competent in all their concerns. It was all about perpetuating the state, preparing people to work in the factories and this sort of thing. And we know that now. It's just undisputed. So these things are knowable.
There's some countries where they will actually penalize parents for not having their children in school. Let's say they want an extra 5 days in Spain on a vacation. They'll penalize or even imprison the parents. That is such a reflection of a totalitarian state trying to have ownership, claiming that your children is the ownership of their state.
Well, they system. They are. The children belong to the state. That's why in most countries, it's the law. The law says you give me those children for the first 16 years. Bring me those brains and let me shape them. And if they want to move on, they can. But yeah, it's by law. You have to let me educate those children.
So any self-respecting parents should really decide to disconnect from that nasty and controlling agenda, and it's not about the children because they can't disconnect from it. The parents need to do it. They need to step outside the box and say, I'm a sovereign individual, or we're sovereign individuals. We own our own lives. These are our children, and we will do with them what we see fit. They're not part of your company or corporation, if that's what the country is. and
right.
get stuffed, basically.
Well,
and if you don't do that, then you can't complain what's happening to your children. What shapes character and creates respect between people often comes from children knowing that there's consequence for bad behavior. How inclined are teachers to actually implement consequence, or do they choose not to just to keep their jobs?
Well, I think you said it very well. You summed it up very well. Because it's a business. Now, it's amazing that teachers can talk at all. Because how many times they have to bite their tongues during the course of a day is just amazing. So, as long as the schools remain businesses, then you have to deal with the diplomacy, and then the teachers, the reality that they know what the unwritten rules are in terms of how they present content and that sort of thing. So, can't say it much better than that.
One thing I found in my upbringing, and we never heard anything about the philosophy of being able to be self-employed, be in control of your own business, your own life. And a very wise man once said, there's only two reasons you should ever have a job. One, to learn enough to start your own business, and two, to save enough money to afford working for the best boss in the world, which is yourself.
Well, that's great. Those are great things. And of course, when you're homeschooling, especially here in the DR, now this is really an incredible place to do homeschooling because you don't have the regulators looking over your shoulder. And you can set the content. In some homeschools, the state, whatever that might be, still dictates the content. Okay, you want to take your child out of the school here, you want to homeschool them? Here's the material that you're going to teach your child. Wait a minute. What? So, I think the Dominican Republic has just a wonderful opportunity. And then the environment is so rich here too. It's just a great opportunity here. And I would say that the biggest value for homeschooling is that the parents can decide the content in certain places, in certain instances.
Many years ago, I learned the word to be an objectivist. Objectivist means that you can question things. You have the right to say, why is that? Or what's the proof that you're basing that on? Don't you believe schools internationally are trying to suppress children a lot of the time from even getting answers to the most honest questions?
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Are they getting answers? They want to make sure they don't even come up with the questions. What are you talking about? The answers? If the school has failed, if the students start asking the right questions, they've already failed. It's like poisoning the soil. You don't even want these questions to grow up in their minds, because once the right questions grow up in their mind, if the school can't answer it, they're going to seek the answer somewhere else. So the purpose of the state-run schools, of course, is to make sure that nothing grows. Nothing grows.
Hasaki, thank you very much for being on the video and for all your good input, and I wish you all the very best with everything you're doing down here.
Thank you very much, and I thank you too for the opportunity. I really love sharing my ideas, so thank you.
Cheers. Take care.
Okay.
Bye. All right, folks, when it comes to schools and kindergartens, it's always good to have options. So I'm just going to run a few quick clips here where you'll see the outside with the names of each place. Here we go. Alright folks, thank you so much for watching this video, and I hope you got a lot of useful information out of it that's going to help you make whatever decisions you need to make for the future. Now, I also just want to advise you, I have a relocation advisory service, if you're not familiar with it, where if you're going to move down here, by getting a little bit of consultation on the do's and the don'ts, and also the quality contacts that you will need down here, that can save you thousands of dollars, if not tens of thousands of dollars. So if you send an email to me at info@educatedtraveler.info, I'll be happy to send you my price plan. Thanks again for watching. See you next time. Bye-bye.